Hello, Internet. Welcome to... shit. I failed before we even started.
Perfect.
Yeah, I know.
Tripped and fell down the
No, that
steps.
was perfect. Like,
Not really.
I felt
Okay.
the yawn. I felt the yawn coming on. I'm like, crap, he's going to call my name right as I'm yawning.
Yeah, after this time, I want to try to figure out a different way of kind of like starting into the show. But we'll keep it the same for right now. Hello, Internet. Welcome to... Crap. Hello, Internet, and welcome to episode 82 of the Making Geeks podcast. We are the podcast for makers, dads, and geeks. And today we have all four hosts with us today, which makes it very, very good times here. So first, bring up Mr. Josh Price.
Hey, everybody.
Mr. Mark O'Keefe.
What's going on?
Mr. Wes Swain.
I'm back.
Yay.
And I am Sean Jolliker. You know, it did feel really weird without Wes here last week.
Did it? Oh. You guys cracked me up with all that pancake talk. It's pretty funny. And the Maker Fair, like leading people around with the sign, that was pretty hilarious. We need to do that.
I'm going to make you that sign.
And we're walking. I like that part.
You know, for 2019, we might have to kind of consider getting Wes's own booth for the pancakes.
But then I won't be able to go around anywhere. I have to have like a traveling griddle or something.
No,
I
you
was
need
thinking the exact same thing.
pancake
that'd be
bot.
great.
Yeah.
You
No,
need
a little push cart.
and you need a regular griddle and pancake bot.
Yeah.
And they could pay with the subscription and a couple likes and a couple views.
There you go.
That'd be a lot of batteries to power that griddle.
A lot of
To be running around.
batteries.
Solar.
Oh, that was good. Batter. Nice.
Boom.
The cart can be made of maple.
Indeed. Yep. I was getting ready to go there.
God damn it.
You better believe it.
That could be linked together.
Welcome to this week's very punny episode.
You know, when you say punny, that's not actually a pun, right?
Yes.
Unless you mean funny, then it might actually be. Anyways,
How was your trip?
it was awesome. It was really cool. I probably saw like 20, 25 concerts. Maybe not in their entirety, but at least in some portion or another. There was like 35 bands on there or something like that. Insane. Bare Naked Ladies was among them, and they were the most entertaining, I thought. Quite fun. But we picked up in New Orleans and went down to Progreso, Mexico, which is our first port. And then the second port was Cozumel. And actually got on a submarine. Catherine and I did a submarine excursion. It went like 120 feet under. And it held like 25 people or so was our complement. And we saw like sea turtle and like lobsters and a bunch of fish, stingray, and humans. Actually, that was unexpected. There was like a ship that they sunk to make like artificial reef, and as we approached it, we start seeing like two people come around the bow of the ship, and they were like scuba divers, and they were like
Yeah,
flashing
I've been diving in Cozumel. It's
flashing
really nice
gang
diving.
signs and stuff at us underwater. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Underwater cholos.
We were about to get
Did you lock the
boarded.
Did
Yeah.
you lock the door on the submarine?
Exactly.
Was this,
We're gonna
was
wash
this a
your
legit
windows for you.
submarine?
Yeah, it was.
a legit submarine, or
it was
was
a-
it like a DIY submarine?
No, it was a legit submarine.
Okay.
Yeah. Apparently, it's a company that has been around, and they have a lot of different submarines in different tropical locations that you can do this event. It was pretty neat. It was really well done. Didn't feel like I was gonna die, which was nice.
That's always a nice feeling.
Yeah, it was cool. And then on our trip back home, the night before we were coming back home, Samantha and Grant stayed with Catherine's sister at her house, which she rarely has kids sleep over, and so it was like a special treat kind of thing. And on the way back, we were at the airport in New Orleans, getting ready to go to Atlanta, then here, and we get a call saying that she thinks Samantha broke her fingers. So that was a fun.
Multiple?
Yeah.
Nice.
And she slammed her hand in a car door.
Oh, yeah, that sucks.
Done that before.
And they were going to urgent care, and we were getting ready to get on a plane, and so we were going to lose signal, right? And you're like, we'll let you know what happens. We're like, oh. Then we get on the flight, land in Atlanta, and they said luckily nothing was broken, but she's been in a splint like all week, like her middle finger and stuff. It got pretty bruised up and swollen and whatnot. But yeah, she probably won't be staying over there anytime soon. Even though it wasn't any particular fault, it was like a freak thing, but she was like screaming bloody murder as you'd expect and freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
So, but beyond that, it was a good trip. Too much food, a lot of fun surprises and stuff. A lot of collaborations between bands. It was a good time. Definitely recommend it. It's called the Rock Boat. If anybody wants to look it up. This is the 18th iteration of that event. But anyways. Thought about you guys.
On the cruises,
yeah.
Well, the cruises I've been on, like, you see the same type of people because you're on this little city for like a week or whatever. That you just like, oh, there's the guy from Bare Naked Ladies, like getting a corn dog in the Lido deck.
Yeah, we stood by Ed Robertson, which is the lead singer of Bare Naked Ladies, during another concert. Like he was right to the left of me. Yeah, it was really weird. I was like, I wanted to ask him like for a picture or something, but I didn't want to like be a turd or whatever. So even though that's sort of
cruise ship,
it's sort of acceptable to like, they know that's going to be part of the gig, right? But he was at a concert of another artist that he really obviously was enjoying, so I didn't want to disturb him or whatever. But I did get a video of him because he actually ended up singing for like the last song of that artist. And as he was like leaving our area to go up on stage, I got video of him like walking up and then coming up on there. It's pretty cool. So you'll see people in the elevators and at dinner, and there's a lot more like band fan interaction stuff. It's not as walled off as like a lot of concert venues, and like they have, once the actual concert's going, you can't like go up on stage and run around or whatever, but anything besides that is pretty much fair game, which is cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. How are you guys? What?
I was gonna say, I was gonna pass off to Josh. What do you been to, Josh?
Oh, since last we spoke, the house that we were getting completely fell through. So that was infuriating. So I think I mentioned last time that there was something in the appraisal about the house being zoned for like commercial use, and it was back and forth. Like a certain percentage could be commercial, a certain percentage could be residential, and whatever. But the appraiser came back and said the whole thing is commercial, which is ridiculous because it's a house, but it's zoned in that area, so it is what it is. But the VA loan that we're using, they won't fund a commercial property. So, and we don't have $40,000 to drop right now. So that house fell through. We were super pissed.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, we found another one, and we put in an offer today, and our offer got accepted. So let's try this all over again. all my financing stuff is already done, which is good.
Yeah.
So I don't have to explain to yet another group of bankers what it is that I do for a living. It's kind of weird.
Do you like this property better than the original one?
I don't know. It's different. This is a newer house. Like, it's apples and oranges. The first one was like a 1906 farmhouse. I had one of the mantles had this like beautiful hand carving of like dragons in it.
Ooh.
This is not a dragon-worthy house. It's a nice house. It has enough room for all of us. It's newer. It's got a pool. I know, right? But it's not dragon-worthy. I think it could be, maybe, but there's nothing I have to do to it. It's just like a coat of paint, maybe some cabinets or something. There's a spot in the basement where I'm going to put like my office where I can do this podcast and I can get good internet finally. Yeah, it's in a spot where it is begging for like a secret door behind a bookcase. So I'm doing that. So I talked to Bob. I'm like, this is about to be bookcase door 2.0. But hopefully we're going to close on that house. hopefully by the end of the month. I know I've said that before, so we're not getting our hopes up.
Yep.
So yeah, this week has been very busy looking at a bunch of houses again.
So you're looking at
Sean
them by
looks like-
yourself, or is
oh.
Tiff still down there in Florida, or what?
No, she's here. She was
Okay.
here toward the end of the month because we were supposed to be closing on the other house at the end of the month. So she brought the kids and like a small load of our stuff up here. That's now sitting in Bob's parents' garage because it was supposed to be in a house by now. So now we're still here waiting. But yep, they're all up here. They're back with their friends and they're getting plugged in and there's like the homeschool co-op that we had down in Jacksonville. There is a branch of that same co-op up here in Kentucky. So she's going to sign everybody up for that stuff. And yep, I mean, we're trying our best to become a part of this community. If someone would just get all their crap out of their house and give me their keys, it'd be great. Sean, what about you, bud?
Last Saturday I released a video, or actually I should say my son released a video. Mark released his Can Crusher video, since he's primarily the one in it and was running most of the build. And that went pretty good. I think he did a pretty good job with it. And this weekend we'll probably be announcing the official requirements for the giveaway that we're providing for the Can Crusher builds for anybody that wants to kind of participate. It's gonna be something just to kind of show off what you've done. It's not going to be a contest. It'll simply be, do something that, functions as a can crusher and do the appropriate tags, and you'll enter a drawing for something that we'll be announcing this weekend. And that's what we're kind of figuring out at this time and working all that out.
Cool.
Yep. How about you, Mark?
I started getting back into the I'm almost done with all the difficult stuff for the X-Carbon closure. I had a medical thing happen, so that tanked my that tanked my
Your jacket, Wes.
Wes,
Wes, you
loud.
are
Oh, really?
really loud.
Sorry.
Anyway,
Looks like you're crumpling a paper bag or something there.
Apologies.
Wes is wrapped like a Christmas present right now.
no, I had a.
What happened? You okay?
I'm not happy. I'm okay. I took another step into old manhood today, I guess. I'm not going to go into specifics because I really don't want to. It's not life-threatening. It just sucks.
Balls touch the water?
Oh no, that's been going on for a while.
Oh, okay.
Edit point. No. So that killed my afternoon, but I got I think I got the difficult stuff done, so I can now screw the rest of it together, and then all I have to do is get the pink insulation or whatever to soundproof it a little better, and then I can hit go and start learning on it. I've got a couple projects I really want to have in my hands, but I got to learn that thing. So other than that, I'm still been trudging along in ZBrush and bit of script work for the YouTube video that will eventually at one point come out. And that's about it for me.
Very cool. So guys, what are we talking about today?
The future of humanity.
Launching cars into space?
Yeah.
Interstellar Ubers.
I love the fact that he put the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy on the damn screen.
Don't panic.
Yeah, that was funny.
So we're talking
we're
about
talking
space.
Space and Musk and probably flamethrowers at one point because that's just funny, and the potential impact, ramifications, and whatnot of recent developments this week.
So I'm probably going to stay quiet for most of this episode because I really have no knowledge of, space shuttles and launches and space and all that stuff, and I'm more fascinated with just hearing what you guys think about all this going on.
My only insight is that they called one of them the Big Falcon rocket, and we all know that Falcon is not the word they use in the office. And that's all I got on it.
Well, I don't know. I have a bachelor's degree in aeronautics and a master's in project management, so this entire thing has me geeking out on many different levels. Like to watch like the flight arc, what they're attempting to do from liftoff to all of the stages to where they're going now is extremely fascinating for like a process, not only because it's rockets and rockets are awesome, but the gall and the ambition that SpaceX has. Like I worked for Lockheed Martin Space Systems before I quit, and there's no way that anyone at Lockheed would be, or anyone of like approving authority would be that imaginative, that would be that bold, and would be that daring to do such a thing. Like it must be a really, really awesome company to work for. Not that you're going to be like the CEO, but just knowing that you are working with a company that is not afraid to do something bold.
So, I'm sorry, Josh.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
No. What's up?
I was going to say, so based on what you said, do you think that's exactly the reason why it seems like SpaceX is so far ahead of everybody else at this point? Is because of like the creativity and just the imagination to do this, or the like you said, the gall to do it, like having the balls to go forward with this.
Well, there's really two veins. There's like the scientific and engineering vein, and then there's the PR vein, right?
Okay.
SpaceX wins because it is of their PR game, and they also win because of their engineering game. So Lockheed and Boeing, they matched together for a 50-50 partnership for the United Launch Alliance, like all of the Delta rockets and the SLS rocket, the new bigger one that's coming out that launches the Orion, and the Orion is a Lockheed capsule. So they are government contracted. They partner together to make rockets go to space. Their rocket motors. So on a rocket motor, like there's the nozzle on the bottom and then the actual rocket with the propellant. All their rocket motors are made by a company called ATK, who's out in Salt Lake City. And ATK also is orbital ATK now. So they also have their own rockets they launch out of Virginia sometimes. SpaceX in the engineering vein is awesome because they make their own engines. Their propellant is probably made from ATK, but they have their proprietary engines. Ones that NASA got, some of the ones on the ULA rockets were Russian at one point because there was this piece of legislation came down that said that no, it was after the ATK rocket blew up in Virginia because it had a Russian rocket motor on it. So besides being a visionary, like and groundbreaking and PR firm, kind of awesome company, they're going to do crazy stuff like sending a car into space for no reason and landing rockets, which is
sci-fi.
When you think about it, like, well, I think Elon Musk even put it out in an analogy. He's like, imagine if you wanted to take a ride, right? You wanted to go from here to somewhere, and someone's like, okay, well, when you get there, I'm going to throw that car in the trash, or we can reuse that car to someone else. He's like, that's what the space program is right now. And I mean, you guys now all probably remember watching that rocket come down and land, like for the first time, and like how that made you feel. But when you think about it, how does space travel really affect your day-to-day life? To make your life better? Like in the short term, like not that, oh, they invented Velcro when they were trying to put people on the moon, and the technology that they're using right now for those rockets will eventually become commercial, maybe in a decade. But like, it's not feeding the hungry, it's not sheltering the homeless, but like space travel does
Inspiration
something to you.
is hard to quantify. Yeah.
Yep.
It's hard
it
to.
does for me.
yeah.
It does for me, but that's because of where I work every day. That it's a natural part of what I do. So all this means a lot to me. But I understand like the other points you're making, Josh, in terms of the way a lot of other people view this. It's not solving an immediate need of society. But I think that we have to look at beyond those those issues sometimes.
But you don't hear that. You don't hear the naysayers right now. You may in a little while. But that's where that other part, the engineering, yes, they make their own rockets. They make them land, which is crazy bonkers and no one else has done. But the PR side. This whole thing was a test mission. Like, and coming out from the very beginning, they're like, we've never tested this rocket before in actual flight path. They've tested the actual rockets in static, but they've never tested, so it could blow up.
Yeah.
Like, the government in the Apollo age would never come out to the American people. Go, hi, American people, we're going to race to the moon. This whole thing could explode. It's we are the best, we're the brightest, we're the fastest, and we're going to get there, and everything is going to be great.
I think the other side of that, I'm sorry, just real quick, the
No.
other side of that, though, is if the U.S. government came out and said, we're not sure if this is going to work, but we're going to try it anyway, you'd see everyone and their mother lose their mind about how they're wasting money and blah, blah, blah. Elon can come out and go, yeah, this is my money, and I'm going to waste it because we need to move forward. So if something blows up, I'm going to eat it and try again.
Those are government contracted launches, so people need to think about that too. That is
On a
the
government
SpaceX
facility.
vehicle.
Yeah.
Yes, which is leased. So there is a lot of taxpayer money that goes into every single one of those launches. So it's not. Yes, I get your point. But if the NASA administrator came out and was like, we're going to do something bold because we're America, and we're going to do something awesome because we're America, and we're going to go launch this car into space because why not? Because we're America. Like, yeah, you would get a bunch of naysayers. But right now, that test launch, that's like, well, what are we going to put in there? We could put ballast. We could put nothing, which is probably what Lockheed Martin would do or any other of these major companies. They go, there's no reason to put something in there, so don't. Where Elon Musk is like, no, man, I'm going to put my awesome car that started the funding for this entire thing.
My own car.
And, yeah, why not?
Yep.
Was that his car?
Question,
Yes.
yeah, it was his roadster.
Yeah.
It was his car.
The guy, I need a new one anyway. All right, take this one, send it to Mars.
One of my favorite things was a couple weeks ago. I think it was either Boeing or one of the other big aerospace companies said, "Okay, we're going to beat SpaceX to Mars," and Elon Musk just responded, "Okay, do it."
Yeah.
Just that's simple.
Yeah.
And I love that response. And a lot of people, and I don't know about a lot of people, but there are enough people kind of excited about a new space race, simply because the national temperament sometimes can benefit from some sort of competition like that, something to look forward to.
We need something we all can all rally behind.
Right. It'd be nice if we had a little bit of that kind of united efforts, aside from all the other government stuff that seems to be tearing everybody down right now. So I look forward to that type of thing. And I really want to see a person on Mars during my lifetime. I think it's really important, but I know it's not a really hugely shared view, but it would mean a lot, I think, for a lot of different things.
So when I was at UCF in 2003, and I was in the aerospace engineering program, they had this thing where they were designing and going to send a probe to measure environmentals on the surface of Mars as this 100th, like the centennial anniversary between like the first flight and now this thing going to Mars. It was this big deal. And I sat there and I did the math, kind of rough in my head, which made no sense at the time. I'm like, I could go to Mars. Like but that was back when the space shuttles were still firing. I was like, if I did this program, if I got in space, like into NASA, and I'd be able to go to space, like I was 18 or 19 at the time, I'm like, it is feasible in my lifetime that I could go to Mars. And that was mind blowing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, granted, my path didn't go that way, but to think that there are people now that could go to Mars, like that excited, like, oh, that's amazing. But then on the flip side, like, well, that person's probably going to die, or someone's going to die.
It's a one-way trip.
Or that's a whole lot of money that could be spent on blah 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 blah. But there's that inspiration, that spirit of core, like rallying behind something that, yeah, it may not benefit all of us, but it's something bigger than all of us.
Yeah, you can't manufacture that. It's like a national voice, It's like, yeah, like something everybody can get behind, exactly. So,
well, how do you guys feel as Americans about the Chinese talking about going to the moon?
Been there, done that.
I don't necessarily feel that same way. Yeah.
No, I was just joking. I think, it's good. It's good. We should go back and, study, I guess. There are unexplored portions of the moon. There's meteor hits all the time. Maybe they'll find something interesting.
there's water. We didn't know that was there the first time we went there. That's a whole nother avenue of research. Mm-hmm.
There are moon people.
So with that right there, you could create facilities to actually create the fuel in space, to have that as a launch point to go even further.
Yeah.
Water has oxygen and hydrogen. Those are the two main components of rocket fuel. So now it'd be like a whole other venture into itself, to having the manufacturing facilities for that, all that in like a low G environment would just be a whole new avenue of research that's not even been explored,
I read something that we couldn't, if we were to have a presence on the moon, it couldn't be on the surface of the moon because of the radiation and potential impacts. So we would have to go subterranean into the moon, which at that point, does it affect? I can't imagine it would affect the density of it too much to mess with what it does for the planet.
Yeah, I read that too, where some of the cavern systems, they're expecting to possibly have those as like a sheltering sort of function.
You guys need to read Artemis. It's a book that Andy Weir wrote. It's his follow-up to The Martian. It's all about people living in a colony on the moon. It's great. It's really great. Apparently they had like an aluminum smelter, and that aluminum smelter, one of the byproducts was pure oxygen. So everybody got to, the company that was there on the moon got to lease the facility from the government for free because they provided oxygen to the whole rest of the facility. It was really good. It was a good book. But still, like, going off of what that book did, so let's say you do open a colony or something on the moon. It would be a research trip, and then eventually it's going to need to be funded, so it's going to become a destination, like a tourist destination. Just like now the space race between SpaceX and Blue Horizon and Virgin and all these people, like, it came from commercial ventures. Like, I want to go to space. I'm willing to put up the money to do so. Hey, you want to go to space? You pay me some money, and now we can do it. So if we do start colonizing the moon, I think it'll initially be for some scientific benefit and some flag planting. But I think it's ultimately going to end up catering to people wanting to go.
Yeah, sure.
Josh, your original question was more about how do we feel about China sending people to the moon. Now, I don't know if you were asking because of a sort of either competition or what else. I don't know what you were initially intending with that question.
I left that purposely
because I feel weird about it. I feel weird about it, and I don't know why.
Because it's like our domain. Because we've been there already. That we should go back to our home turf.
I won't completely deny that, but I don't know. I feel weird about that also. And maybe that's just my arrogance as an American, though, of worrying about what other people's plans are for certain things like that. I don't know. Maybe it's, like I said, maybe it's arrogance. But I also think that we haven't done enough on the moon, and you guys were already talking about some of those other ideas. And I thought for years that having a launch site from the moon would would actually be really beneficial, really challenging, of course, too. It's not just that easy of a thing, even with the little knowledge that I have of all those situations. Yeah, I think it's really interesting.
I want to go.
I would go.
To the moon? Heck yeah.
I think it'd be fun.
Best way to lose a couple pounds.
When Andy Weir gets appointed the NASA administrator, you can just use all his ideas.
I think I'm just tempted to mess up that little face on the moon. Give it like a different expression.
Mount Rushmore on the moon, so every night you see someone staring at you.
Did you guys hear that the spacecraft New Horizons broke a record today? The one that took pictures of Pluto? It's the... what did they say? It took a photo of some objects in the Kuiper Belt, which is like beyond our solar system, or like practically on our edge of our solar system. Like it's where a lot of comets sort of hang out and other objects. And they said it was the furthest distance ever of a picture being taken from Earth. Not of Earth, but just an object taking a picture of something else. Which was kind of crazy.
I could have swore we had something that was even beyond that, or am I imagining that?
The Voyager took a picture of Earth, and it created the famous pale blue dot photo, where you could actually see Earth in the picture. Where I think I read it today, where that original picture was like 600,000 pixels, like square or something approximately, and Earth was like 0.1 of a pixel, and you could like barely make it out. And at the time, that held the record for I believe, the furthest photo from Earth. And that vehicle is further from Earth than I believe any other one, and Voyager 2 is also. But New Horizons is broken so many records as it is. It's the fastest man-made object ever created. Like, its current speed is faster than any other thing we've ever made, which is insane. It's so inspiring to me. Like, I remember when that system launched, I was working at Best Buy watching it on a webcast, and I think it took like 15 years to get to Pluto or whatever. And is that right? Yeah, I think that's right. And I was remembering how I was wondering what I was going to be doing at that time, like how my life would be different and all that stuff. And I never imagined kids, and I was married to Catherine at the time, but you never know. Like, how can you sort of like, it's like I put a pin in the future and waited for the rest of me to catch up to it,
That's awesome.
Yeah. And Samantha's getting it all into space stuff, and I started showing her some Star Trek Next Generation. I showed her 3 episodes, and she's hooked. Nice. She's talking about it tonight. She wants to buy a telescope with her allowance that she's been collecting for like a year.
Nice.
So I think she might have the bug, which is awesome.
So I have a question for you guys, because you guys are, far more knowledgeable than I am on any of this. Is there something about this entire process or the situation that most people aren't aware of? Something that isn't getting talked about? I don't know. Just what's the real ramifications or exciting thing about all of this?
Well, I think the exciting thing is it's bringing a lot of. I think it's just like what we're talking about. It's bringing a lot of the inspiration back. The inspiration that during the shuttle program, like they were building the ISS, so that was really the shuttle program's last hurrah. Is they were helping build the International Space Station. And the International Space Station is sad in a way because people think it's mundane. Where it's like you have that whole operation of living and operating in low Earth orbit, like with an international group of people that are completely happy and okay with each other across diplomatic and political lines, is an amazing feat. And it's crazy now that people are like, oh yeah, I opened the space station. Oh yeah, it was like down the street at the Dunkin' Donuts. Like they take it for granted. And so now with a company with this visionary leader and the craziness is happening right now that it's going to shoot for Mars, people think like, oh my God, Mars. Like, yeah, Mars is difficult.
They already missed that.
Understatement of the year. Yeah, like it's getting people's eyes open again and changing their scope, I think, to like what is now going to be possible for human beings. Where we're at a place where like going to space and sitting on a rocket and being launched up in Russia, like to go to the International Space Station and live there for a couple months is unexciting. So it takes somebody to launch their car in a dummy in a spacesuit toward Mars, like to jar people back.
And remind them that there's a whole thing. Yeah, the space.
Yeah, but like what we're doing on this planet is completely inconsequential because there's things out there that are bigger than us. So I don't know if that answered like a behind the scenes kind of thing, but I like how this has kind of jarred people.
A lot of people also don't realize that NASA, not SpaceX, but just NASA is doing their own thing. They've been working on the next platform for a long time. So just because they don't hear of anything going on down there doesn't mean they're not working all the time towards that goal of putting another human, in space further than we're currently at. I mean, this is sort of reinvigorating a lot of the media to look in that direction down there, in Florida. But people have been working on this stuff for a while. It's just they don't get the coverage that they should.
I think
it's got to help a lot of real estate markets down in the Space Coast too, because they were dying for a while. And I know that Lockheed opened a facility down there as well for the space systems company that I used to work for, and they had to buy a whole new facility because Cape Canaveral was leasing out these old Air Force buildings to these private companies. And so, like Blue Horizon went down there as the Jeff Bezos company, and SpaceX took a bunch of buildings, and the United Launch Alliance was leasing buildings. And so Lockheed wanted to do one just for the Navy, not even for like rockets into space. And they had to build a whole new facility, which they're starting to do now in Cape Canaveral, which they hadn't done since the initial space race. So not only is it invigorating like spirits, it's also bringing back like a pretty decent financial boom and some job prospects to people down in Central Florida.
I think you guys touched on a really important point that may not be getting enough attention right now, and I think that is the image of what we just saw. So SpaceX, not only are they doing things that a lot of other companies aren't doing, at least openly, but they did something ridiculous and cool by launching this car into space with, this mannequin in the driver's seat, and that seems to be a little bit more reflective of what gets this generation's attention. And maybe that's really what it's going to take to really start inspiring those minds again. Otherwise, I think that everybody still has the same picture of NASA and the space industry from what we saw from Apollo 13.
Yeah,
it's a bunch of these white guys and skinny ties and short sleeve shirts doing math. And that still might be fairly accurate, but I think the image of it needed to be refreshed, and it took somebody like Elon Musk to kind of start that, and hopefully that continues on. And I think I'm even going to look at how to incorporate a little bit of that into some of my classes now to get them thinking and talking a little bit more. Because I'm hoping that industry just completely opens up and starts, has an even bigger demand over the next 20 years. That'd be nice if we have, a reinvigoration of that industry, not just for the national temperament, but also for jobs and engineering and all those other things that go along with it.
You gotta have dorky heroes too. And I mean, even now, like I was talking to Deacon the other day, here in Kentucky, like there's the Corvette plant that's down the road in Bowling Green where they make all the Corvettes. And I was telling him, I was like, when I was a kid, I would throw like money in a fountain at the mall, and I would always wish for a red Corvette because I saw all the original, like the Apollo astronauts all got Corvettes. And there was this one picture that I saw of a whole slew of astronauts like looking baller on the beach, like leaning up against their Corvettes, because the astronauts, like my son Deacon, we call him Deke because Deke Slayton is one of the original 7 Mercury astronauts, and so I wanted to name my kids after astronauts because that's who I like. As a kid, I idolized like the space program, and kids nowadays don't have those kind of dorky, science-y, like do good in math type heroes or icons because they have to go to Russia. They got to go to Kazakhstan to get on a rocket to go anywhere, still wearing an American flag, but you don't have those like ticker tape parades or those like moments in Armageddon where they're walking in slow motion across the platform. Like they will come, but now like a bunch of guys high-fiving when a rocket lands in SpaceX t-shirts. If those are those kind of heroes now, like put a spacesuit on them and watch it explode. Like not literally watch it explode, but like the inspiration. That was bad.
Phrasing.
Yeah, really. Watch the young minds be inspired by how awesome that is.
You know, I swear sometimes I hate living on the West Coast because that type of connection seems so far removed from like the passion from what I hear from all of you.
Well,
and
just go down to the Mojave Desert, man. Is Burt Rutan's company still doing stuff or no? Like Spaceship One and all that, Josh? Remember how they were? You're not familiar with that? It was Scale Composites. They were the first commercial.
I thought Spaceship One was a Virgin.
It's also Virgin, yeah.
He was the designer for that Virgin Starliner thing that crashed, and then they've been trying to come back from that.
Right.
I don't know if they fully have yet.
Right, the
but
pilot
even
died,
in
yeah.
LA,
yeah,
in LA, there's the Pacific Range. It's PR. So at Vandenberg Air Force Base, there's a lot of rockets that go up in Vandenberg Air Force Base. And I know not too long ago, a bunch of people were freaking out on Twitter because they thought a UFO was flying through the air, and that was a submarine-launched missile test.
Yeah, we saw it. Awesome. Yeah, it was actually on my birthday that it happened. No, I mean, so I know all that stuff goes on, but it doesn't seem like it gets the same attention or same excitement unless it's something weird in the sky, like you just said. Oh, it's no UFO. And then everybody looks up and pays attention, or like, oh no, chemtrails. That's the reaction out here to that stuff. It isn't about, oh my god,
the government's poisoning us.
It's bad out here sometimes.
I think the recent solar eclipse did a lot for the culture of towards NASA and science, and the next one coming up is going to be another reinvigoration of that same thing. I mean, what percentage of the U.S. stopped for 10 minutes for people to go out and take a look at this? That was sort of like a unifying thing, I think. At the moment, like people didn't care. Just didn't care who they were, and like standing aside to look up and share this celestial event that has inspired humans since we've existed. Things that this whole phenomenon created cities, practically created monuments that are still there. So it's pretty insane.
And I think SpaceX, the momentum that the company has, also kind of plays with the attention span of modern America because they move really, really quickly. They go from concept to engineering to test a lot faster than, government contracted, especially the United Launch Alliance. Like they're building the SLS, which I think is supposed to be bigger than the Falcon 9 Heavy.
Yep.
I remember moving slower. It was 3 or 4 years ago when the Orion was tested, the Orion capsule that Lockheed made with it was tested because it was a big thing for the company. And you haven't heard anything else since. And SpaceX has taken up that big PR chunk, and they're doing it really, really well, where there's no reason for Lockheed and Boeing to win a PR battle. Like, they have a government contract. They don't need to win hearts and minds. They don't need to inspire because they're getting paid just the same to produce a product by a certain date. It's this older mentality.
Plus, SpaceX isn't, vulnerable to congressional whims and funding allocations and stuff that can put a huge pause on Orion, which it has already. Every time that comes up, they're like, "Oh, what about this thing? Why is this costing so much money? Why is it, out of costing so much more than it was initially supposed to? And why is the time frame taking longer? Because you're not funding the stuff, So they're not as vulnerable to the sorts of changes each administration, brings along, for good or for bad.
And thank goodness this launch worked.
For the most part.
Yeah.
It would be a win-win either way. Because if you go back to those two pillars, right? The engineering and the technological side, it's unfortunate, but you would learn a lot. The PR side, you know how many times that clip would be played all across the planet? And Elon Musk would have went, well, I guess I'm out of a car. Ha, 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 ha. And he would, boom, there's the picture of him on every magazine cover.
Yeah, I'm not saying they wouldn't recover from it. I'm just saying that I think there is a certain positive image that people need to have of this as well, because it's not just about SpaceX. But that's kind of what I was referring to a little bit more. I know that SpaceX, and they've already had crashes and they've been bouncing back, and Elon Musk's response probably couldn't have been better in terms of, okay, well, we learned what didn't work, and then coming back again. But like I said, I'm still saying that thank goodness this one worked. I think it was important that it worked this time.
Oh, absolutely. Like those shots, I don't remember what was going on, but I missed the actual launch, and so I had to see everything after the fact. And seeing the beautiful image of a stinking red sports car with this super chill spaceman with the beautiful planet in the background, like, what am I looking at right now? Like, this is friggin' crazy.
The simultaneous landing of the boosters was pretty damn awesome too.
Yeah.
That's the
chills.
The background on my desktop right now.
Yep.
Weren't people still trying to say that it was faked somehow?
People are always going to say that.
Yeah.
Well, the feed during the actual live feed, whoever was in charge of OBS at the time, like controlling what view screens were up at what time, they messed up a couple times. They had at the bottom of the screen, they showed what was supposed to be the viewpoint for both boosters, but it was one booster duplicated. And when actually landed, both of them, quote unquote, landed at the same pad. You see the other pad where it didn't land. And now, so I was like, hey, that's not right. Even though the people on the cast are like, there's the two views from the thing. I'm like, it's not really both of them. And then also the money shot where the capsule was opening up in space, revealing the car. Like you said, with the astronaut, they actually didn't do that correctly. And they showed the overall view of the graphic of the launch arc and all that stuff. They kept going back to at a smaller screen, where it shows the different points along the arc where certain things were going to happen. When the music started playing, when the car was going to reveal, it showed that instead of the car. It showed the graphic. And I'm like yelling at my TV. I'm like, what is going on? You guys are idiots. I was like, blah, blah. It was like a sports team. My favorite sports team got lost. It was losing, And then finally it did flip back after the fact, and it was a black backdrop instead of the Earth behind Starman in the car. And so it shows him like just kind of with no frame of reference, just black behind him, which was still cool, but it wasn't that moment. And I went back to show Catherine, hey, look how they messed up. And I watched the second video that SpaceX put up there. And this goes back to your PR thing, for good or for better for worse. I'm not sure how this is another discussion actually that I wanted to get into if we had time. But they actually took the launch video and they re-edited it, and they corrected the booster at the bottom and put the correct view of both boosters at the bottom, and then they re-edited the Starman reveal so it looked beautiful. And that sort of like didn't set with me the right way. Like it seems sort of sketch. Even, I don't know, like it's supposed to be like this record of here's exactly what happened, and they edited it and they didn't show any evidence of them editing it. And except in the description of this video, they said this is the updated, there's updated views in it. But from like a historical standpoint, to me, it seems sort of sketchy, and it might have led some credence to people thinking that they're faking some of this, not the actual event, but they're manipulating their footage and everything for a benefit in PR, and what possible ramifications this could have later on down the line, like when they lost the signal, quote unquote, with the center core when it was supposed to be landing on the barge, and one of the unlisted audio channels, people heard them say we lost the center core, and then you actually heard someone say that, and then their feed cut off. So did they know at that point that they lost it and they were like saving face, or is that the right term? Where you know, they don't want to show this thing happening, and it took like 3 hours before they reported that they actually lost it.
Yeah,
that was a little bit sketchy to me.
That I think that would be that. We'll tell them afterward. Let's focus on the awesomeness that is right now. Like, and I think Elon Musk came and after the fact and said that it ran out of landing propellant, and I think it hit the water and the part of the barge at about 300 miles an hour.
And they also fired the engine at the incorrect time, so they're actually overshooting Mars, and it's going to go to the asteroid belt instead. Like those two things, which were major kind of PR points they wanted to hit, they're sort of like sweeping under the rug, like, don't look in this direction, there's nothing to see here. So I don't know. I understand like all the accomplishments that are amazing into themselves, but you can't disregard there were actual failures, even though they weren't the primary goals, like the tertiary goals of these things that he was chest thumping about, like reusable rockets. Our reusable rocket blew up when we tried. Granted, it's a test. I understand that, but you can't like cheer like this is the most stupendous thing ever when in reality you didn't really hit all your stuff. So it's a PR juggling act. It depends on how you do it. And I also heard other people say that they've respun the story in that they fired the thing off on purpose to see how far they could go, not necessarily to go to Mars or whatever. So it's just like another conversation about, like I said, the PR of this and like how that differs from NASA's, the way they've operated things. It harkens back to like a Russian operation. For me, I know this is sort of like conspiracy theorist, right? But they hid a lot of their failures and for decades, right, of all these attempts that they made and things that they've had, the problems they had along the way. So is the U.S. or is the American public privy to the failures just as much as the successes, or because of their private company, do they have the right to not release or disclose these things for PR reasons? I don't know. It's just another interesting topic that could be discussed. That's all.
I think there's some credence to what you're saying now. I think it's they do have investors and they do want to save face, and they did make a lot of lofty claims about what they were going to do. When I initially saw everything that they were going to do, I'm like there's no way that all that's going to happen. Like on a project timeline, like how many teams you would have to have individually dedicated to each one of those things. It's not like, I don't know if people think that Elon Musk is sitting at a big table and he's like
flipping switches,
Pico, like he's nowhere near that. There are so many individual people that have to work in beautiful concert and harmony for all of these things to work together.
Sure.
So for them to get that beautiful shot of both of the rockets coming down, that is a huge win for the PR and for the engineers. For the spaceship going out into space, them missing their target or whatever, PR people can spin that because it's a little hit on the engineers, but again, they're going to focus on that was like, that's extra credit.
Sure. The
car thing is completely extra credit. Landing the third one on the barge, like that would have been crazy awesome if all of them would have landed at the exact same time. But maybe it's experience versus cynicism, where I'm like, that's way too many moving pieces, and if all of those things are going to line up beautifully, it's not going to work. So I guess that's par for the course in my book. Like something had to go wrong,
sure,
or I would have thought it was fake.
If
everything would have went perfectly right, like whatever. So good for them.
So I'm a little bit confused now. Is the car heading for Mars, or is it not heading for Mars?
It's no.
I thought that was the plan.
It was the plan.
It wasn't the whole plan. It was a goal that they had. The whole plan was to test the configuration of the rocket. That was a win. And to get the rockets back. That
was a partial win.
It was 2/3.
2 out of 3. Yeah.
The car going there, that was PR. That was all PR.
That's
Engineers
unfortunate.
make that car go to Mars. Why? Because it would be cool.
Right.
Like that's not an engineering goal to hit because something would be cool. Like what? Why are we going there? So if it went off target or if it's going to go to the asteroid belt, they're going to spin that because there's really no reason it needed to go there in the first place, other than it would just be cool. And honestly, if you were going to send people to Mars now, a stinking car revolving around the planet it's a risk factor.
Well, it wasn't going to like insert into orbit around Mars specifically. It was going to go around the sun and Mars. It was like a giant ellipse, basically. So heliocentric orbit. But now it's even further. It's a more stretched ellipse where it's still the sun, but it's also into the asteroid belt. So it's like it goes further. They were never going to like enter, Mars orbit and have the same shot that you saw of Starman with Mars behind them. I don't think that was ever on there.
Oh, I thought that was one of the original goals.
I don't think so.
See now I know that I have to start reading some of those full articles because I was under I imagined that I wanted this damn thing. I wanted this damn thing to land on Mars so we could have a remote control car on Mars.
Hell yeah!
It wasn't going to land on Mars.
No, I want the Tesla app that I can spend a couple minutes and.
Why am I getting like this Pixar story of the car and the lunar rover? Like a dude from Cars, like Lightning McQueen and Wall-E just hanging out and going around all over the place.
I would watch that.
And what are the aliens gonna think when they find this car? It's like, oh, there's someone in there. That's not wait, why is this here?
That was a gift for the Martians, offering a peace.
We gave you a Tesla. It's one of the most expensive cars on our planet.
Wes, did you wonder how long the paint job and all of the car pieces were going to still be maintained as car pieces out in the extremes of radiation and temperature?
And now with all the yeah, exactly. That's going to be interesting.
I looked at the wheels when I saw the one picture wheels, and I was like, what do they have in the wheels to make them still wheel shaped? I was like,
right, because the air
are the valves in the tire just like, did they just take them out?
Holy crap! I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's all I thought.
I never thought
when
about
saw
that.
I was like, so the engine's got to be replaced and removed either completely or just it's got no engine anyway, it's an electric car. I was like, okay, so the batteries have got to be gone and just replaced with ballast because there's no reason to have batteries, and then they would probably burst.
Powering the camera.
Yeah,
somehow.
It's powering all the stuff in the car. So I think all that stuff's still there.
Those are solar powered. The batteries in the car, like to make a Tesla work, like it has the huge batteries.
Sure.
There's no reason to have those because the car's not going to work. And then the
they're playing the music. They're playing the music from the
freezes.
car, though. They said they're playing out of the speakers. I'm pretty sure, but I could be wrong. It's also a PR thing.
Powered
In
from
space,
the
no
solar
one
panels
can
with
hear
the
you
cameras in it.
sing Bowie.
Exactly that as well. But that's neither here nor there.
There's no reason.
I'm curious if if there was air in the
Nothing
tires
is
or not.
playing out of those speakers.
They
so
probably
those are the
put a
things
gas in them.
I mean, you could put nitrogen in it, but still,
Think of the pressure
there's no reason to
differential.
have air in it.
Also,
Well, nitrogen is yes, there's no pressure, so they would have to blow out if they just took the valve stem. We're getting way too deep into the.
no, this is where we need to be. We're making geeks, not making, average non-geek.
Well, that's what I thought about when I saw that car.
Yeah, we're not making
All the-
normal people.
Right? No, exactly.
No.
Yeah,
Just kind of need to have a conversation here with Bob's dad, who is a chemical engineer, and we just looked over at this car and we're like, okay, well, how did they do this? Well, how is it going to do this? I'm like, dude, that red is going to be gone. In a couple of years, that thing is going to be completely unrecognizable. If you were to, find yourself in space and see a car pull up, like, oh.
I also see an episode of Star Trek in the future.
yeah, exactly.
It's not a
V'ger.
car on an asteroid.
It better show up in the Han Solo movie.
Is there any? Do you guys know if there's any plan to keep like a constant live camera on this thing?
I thought there was, but I'm not. It could be a PR thing too, like all the things that they hope the people imagine this thing's gonna do. I don't know. That's a good question. What kind of antennas do they have on there?
The ISS has a constant feed camera on the outside. Somebody's got to be watching.
So I think we've covered this as well as we probably can in this initial update of what's going on.
I like it.
So, and I know that in some ways this has already been like an hour-long geek out session, but other than Rocket Man and SpaceX and stuff, what are you guys geeking out about this week?
Movie trailers.
Movie trailers.
Any
Venom.
specific that we want to bring attention to?
Venom might be a James Bond movie from the teaser trailer. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Pass. Jessica
Jurassic
Jones.
Park looks fun. I cannot wait for that. That's a good story arc for them.
I have absolutely no interest in Jurassic Park. To me, all the magic is gone. Another monster, another chase. I don't find a whole lot of value in it anymore.
Yeah, but what's the monster?
I actually don't even care.
It's I made it up us. I made it up
Saurus.
Rex.
I made up a Saurus.
Yeah.
It's a thesaurus, and it goes around correcting people's grammar.
How'd you guys feel about the Han Solo trailer?
I feel bad for the guy
let's go ahead and do
playing
it.
Han Solo because Donald Glover that's all that movie's about now. Is Lando Calrissian.
I would have rather seen a young CG Harrison Ford than that guy in that ugly mug because I don't. It looks like somebody with bad cosplay.
What if they did something along the lines of what was that movie with Bruce Willis and the Time Jumpers?
Oh, Looper.
Looper?
Oh,
Looper,
so
yeah, and the way they did Joseph Gordon-Levitt's face, like a little bit of CG to make him a little more like him.
I think that'd be a little bit better. But I came across something that kind of bothered me, and I don't know how you guys feel about it. This guy, this kid playing the role, is only 5'8", but Harrison Ford is 6'1". So automatically, I think you lose a little bit of the presence that this person is supposed to have.
Are they going to scale the rest of the set down to make it compensate?
Tom
I
Hardy
mean,
was
the
only
guy-
like 5'4".
The guy who played was it Hagrid's like 5'4". They made him 7 foot tall, so I think they can take 4 inches,
They'll make Chewie
3
shorter.
inches.
Well, I mean, I understand. I knew it was going to happen. I know they could do all of that, but if they don't compensate some way, I think you're losing a huge amount of the presence. And I don't accept the argument that he's so much younger, he's not his full size yet. Because
That's a dumb argument.
That's total crap. I don't know.
Well, he hasn't started flying yet.
His
so
spine hasn't
has elongated
Exactly.
due to the low gravity.
Yeah, except that those real scientific explanations don't usually matter in Star Wars.
Latherford.
Anyways,
I think he looked like Benicio del Toro had sex with Dennis Quaid and spit out that guy.
that's a horrible image.
Well, you're going to sit there and watch an hour and a half of it, bumbling through lines.
But there were some epic shots in that trailer, though.
It's true.
Actually, anything that didn't include the
Actors?
showing the actor looked great.
I'm really curious as to how, because apparently the Millennium Falcon isn't
It's
what
new.
it is, but there's more parts to it. It's got a nose instead of the things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a feeling there's more than just one of those ships. I'd seen in a book somewhere that original configuration was actually for like pushing around like freight.
Yeah, there's tons of them.
Yeah, so
But
it may not be the same ship.
He's got the LS model with the heated seats and the leather package.
Sinners.
I'm going to watch it, but I don't want to watch it.
I agree.
yeah, it feels like Star Wars. Like Star Wars doesn't feel like Star Wars anymore.
We talked about this, but when they started with Rogue One, we talked about this. I said they're going to
Rogue
dilute
One-
it so bad that you're going to stop caring.
Rogue One
It's
felt like
happening.
Star Wars.
Kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But see,
It felt more like Star Wars than
You know that we're gonna do the spoiler cast just to punish Bob a little bit and have him on the show to get him to talk about it again. So,
Truth.
all right. So other than movie trailers, anything else going on? Anything you guys are geeking out about?
We made an Optimus Prime blaster that's 4 foot tall. That was pretty fun.
It looks really cool.
Today.
Yeah.
I told him on his Twitter every single transition in his videos from now on has to have the Autobob Deceptive stuff.
The Deceptive stuff.
So we talked about Skillshare last week, and there was a lot of that Skillshare class that I was taking that showed up in that video, like a lot about lighting, and there was like a shot that I'm super proud of that was kind of quick, where Optimus Prime is in the foreground, and I transitioned to Bob in the background where he's like pointing the gun. I was really proud of that shot, and that all came from the Skillshare class that I learned.
Nice.
The more you know.
I have an opposite of geek out. I don't know what that would be, where you're like super depressed about something.
A geek in? I don't know.
Geek in, yeah.
That's when you're depressed about normal things.
Apparently Autodesk is going to discontinue my software that I like, ArtCam. Apparently they're going to stop production. They stopped production on that, and they're phasing it out over up until like 2020 or something like that. They're going to like pull it completely. But apparently if you have a current subscription, that's the only way you can get it. Or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think they said it's going to be free at some point. I don't know what the details are 100%, but they're getting rid of it, and I actually really like that one. I thought it was much more affordable than the other options, and I was just starting to get into it. I wanted to make actual tutorials and stuff around the software because there was a severe lacking of them, and now they said that.
Are they replacing it with anything, or is it just gone?
It was sort of like a stealth announcement, so I don't know. They're hoping nobody notices, kind of thing.
I have a feeling the software isn't really hugely profitable for them.
Yeah.
I don't think it has a wide enough user base.
I think a lot of the functions are being absorbed into Fusion, because you can mold in Fusion. You can go straight from CAD to CAM. Like,
there are things it can't do, but maybe they'll pull the features in there and throw them in. I mean, that would make sense to have, an all-in-one sort of feature set. But it's the growing pains that hurt, So.
No. Or pour some out for ArtCam.
That's right.
So my geek out this week is actually similar to Wes. Is that it's not really geeking out. It's almost one of, kind of like sad. Found out that one of my favorite YouTube shows is basically going away in June, and that is the Ben Heck Show.
Oh, that's what his announcement was?
Yeah, the Ben Heck Show. And it's sad because his show was like one of the main inspirations for me starting to make and to do YouTube and all those things. But he has 8 years of content and videos to still go back and look at. But yeah, his kind of put the final date on when he will stop his channel.
What was the reasoning behind it?
He's ready for new things. He's been doing it a long time. He's been under the gun for a long time for deadlines, working directly with the company Element 14, and he just wants to move on to some other things. It's like over 300 episodes they've done.
It's a good run.
Yeah, it is.
Sweet.
Anything else?
Nah.
Okay. All right. Well, to all of our listeners, we would love to hear from you. Go ahead and check out the Making Geeks website. We have a lot of good content there. You can listen to any of our past episodes right there on the homepage. And we also have a contact page where you could write in questions, comments, and suggestions for the show. So check that out at makinggeeks.com.
You can also find us on every single social media. On Instagram at Making Geeks Podcast, at Twitter and Facebook at Making Geeks.
And we'd like to thank our lovely patrons over at patreon.com/makinggeeks for making this and future episodes of this podcast possible. They toss up their hard-earned money for us from week to week, and we definitely appreciate it. It keeps the lights on and it helps fund future endeavors like us going to Maker Faire. Have we actually said we're going to try our best to go there? Is that what? Yeah. Okay.
We're going to try.
All right. We're soft committing, I guess. But thank you guys so much for your support, and thanks to our top patron, Mr. Seth Williams. Thank you, buddy. And that's at patreon.com/makinggeeks.
And you can find all our own individual bodies of work all over the internet at geeksmithing.com, geekbuilders.net, Asylum Designs, and PIWorkshop.com. And I'd like to thank everybody for hanging out with us during this super spacey episode. I get real excited talking about space, as I know that Wes does. So thank you both for humoring us. Let us talk about all things interstellar. And we all hope you have an amazing week.
See ya.
Later.
Go look at the stars.
Billions
Take
and
care.
billions.